Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks in another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be taking a look at the metal wasteland known by the cloud and smoke as Industrial Revolution. A map that's not very common, not one that we've seen very often here on the channel, but one that I've always had a particular soft spot for. It's very bizarre, it's got a lot of weird lanes and unique playstyles, and I think that shies a lot of players off, so I'm excited to see what some of these commanders can get up to today, and one of these commanders spawning is the blue team leader, an Armada commander that goes by the name of Cat Lordy. Cat Lordy, wrong camera mode there. Cat Lordy here, going to be clocking in at 24 open skill and setting the bar here for the teams on the roster today. 24 open skill, indeed indicating that this is going to be a little bit of a learner's match. So we'll sit back, we'll relax, and we'll enjoy the chaos as we watch these noob teams go up against each other here. You know, noob air quote, right? I'll address this once here and then I'll let it go, but in Beyond Our Reason, there's not necessarily a distinction between, you know, a noob, a novice, and a pro, or something to that effect, right? It's all kind of made up as I go along, seat of the pants flying sort of style. So I hope people don't take that too seriously when I call them a noob or call them a pro or whatever it happens to be. Certainly, there are highs and lows for every player, and sometimes you're just not going to play a good game. Sometimes you're going to play the best game you've ever had. You're going to smoke that 40 OS player as a 22 OS commander, and you're going to feel like the king of the world. That's part of the reason why Beyond a Reason is so addictive. But I digress. Cat Lordy here, the blue team commander. Spawning on the other side here as the red Armada commander, and going into bots, it's going to be none other than Shagrath. Shagrath. We'll go with those fours like they're A's here, do some leet speak. It's going to be Shagrath, the red commander, and going to be going for wind turbines as well. I think that makes a lot of sense. Tidal speed, not really worth it. Wind speed is always going to be, well, efficient. Slightly more efficient for Armada, but efficient nonetheless. Should mean that going for wind turbines on this particularly wide and open map will be well worthwhile. Now, let's talk about the map for a second, because, again, not one that we see all too often. The blue team with some brilliant little designs right here. Love to see that. Industrial Revolution features a numerous plethora of lanes to exploit right here, as you can see. There's one lane that goes along the entire backline here of the, well, the map. And it's a bit strange. It's kind of a 1v1, but also enemy commanders can push up these ramps to try and assist here, both of these directions. Means you end up fighting a really weird kind of battle in this backline here. If it goes undisturbed, it's effectively just a pure 1v1. It also can swing very quickly, though, as these commanders start to send reinforcements in this direction. There's also 3 tiers to this map. Usually we tend to see 2 tiers, but this one actually is 3. I guess it's actually 4, huh? Because you've got 1, 2, 3, and an ultimate high ground here of 4. Worth taking, by the way. There are double metal extractors up there. And, of course, on the southern side, there's a big pond. 2 big ponds, actually. Looks like we've even gone for boats right here. Okay. Well, that's rare. We don't usually see boats in this map because, well, frankly speaking, boats are terrible. I mean, you can't move them past this area of the pond right here, so effectively these boats have hit their limit as far as they're going to be able to go. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to be able to contest this with ships, but not being able to do any damage with them really hurts. And look at that, Devil Luna with a medium transport, or a heavy... Is it a heavy transport? It is a heavy transport. You should probably be reclassified medium transports now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, Devil Luna going to be moving forward with that transport nonetheless. The Osprey picking up that commander and deploying it tactically here over to this high ground, where it will claim these metal extractors uncontested. There's not really anything to do with contesting any of this because, well, yeah, those boats, they don't do so good on the land. Odin Bjorn, the pink commander here, is going to be going into hovercraft. I think is a much better option, of course. Hovercraft can go on land and sea. Makes them quite viable in the southern sector right here, where you, well, of course, have to deal with both. I'm going to turn the sound up a little bit, actually, here. Hopefully that sounds too good. Let me know in the comment section down below. There were some people commenting that they couldn't really hear the sound underneath my voice, and so hopefully that elevates it ever so slightly. It's a tricky balance between over-emphasizing the sound, the music, and the gunfire, and then suddenly my voice is drowned out. Some of you may be happy at that idea. Others of you may be saddened. Particular ones of you I'm definitely on one side of, but I'll digress. I'll leave it be. I won't complain. Weird little map accessories here as well, these big pipelines. And they make commentating this map very, very difficult because, as you can see, I kind of have to take this camera angle to avoid them, or take a high camera angle so that you can see past them. One of the few maps that I think have any kind of sky blockers, like make it difficult to see past on this map, which is sort of interesting. Like, From a design standpoint, it's really, really nice. It looks cool to see these pipes kind of going all over the place. However, I think they'd be better used in moderation between these, or like on top of these buildings rather than between them. Just so that you kind of get a sense for the fact that there's like these weird industrial pipes going all over the place, but also you don't actually have to contend with, like, for instance, you know, you can't tell what's going on in the front because suddenly I've zoomed in on this pipe and it's blocking the entire front line here. I don't know. One of those weird things. StarCraft 2 has sort of measured this out perfectly. StarCraft 2 map makers have just, you know, have ages and ages and ages and plenty of resources as well to develop their talents, and have started producing maps that essentially all feature very plain, relatively plain battlefields with extremely accessorized outer sections, unreachable sections. Of course, Beyond a Reason is a little tougher because there are spider bots which can reach every area of the map. Every nook and cranny is subject to climbability. Does mean you have to put that into consideration, certainly. Cat Lordy, going for the mexes in the water right here, kind of interestingly. We do have an air lab up and running for the Purple Commander, so it's where that transport plane actually came from. Not a dedicated air player here on the Mesa or in the backline. We do have one. Looks like Tiny Rick, the 12th, will be holding down the backline. Loads of build power, plenty of solar panels, good stuff in the back here. But no fighters, no bombers, nothing like that on the other side of the map. Now, I can say the same for the red team, which actually doesn't have an air player. Oh, yeah, okay. No air player here for the red team, so obviously, you know, with proper scouting, that becomes really, really apparent. Obviously, easy for us to say with the 100% vision here. Throwing away a Janus and a Shell Shocker. Less than ideal, I would say. Missile truck will retreat in time to actually not die to the LLTs, pawns, and commander building LLTs over there. Not ideal, though. Give me con, cries out the... Oh, yeah, look at that. Base completely destroyed by a little bit of a run-by right there. Now we have some thugs and aggravators on the front here, as well as an HLT to try and blast the rest of this down. HLT is really nice. Obviously, you can do HLT creeps really easily right here, and I think that might be what Ryko Demas is looking for. Building the construction turret, and then you build another HLT. Yeah, there we go. So we're creeping it forward. Now you do want to step this to the side, because yeah, you're gonna block the sight line of that HLT, and you really don't want to do that. So basically, what you want to do instead of this you'd put it over to the side over here, and then you would put the next one over to this side and this side, and you kind of step them forward, left to right like that, or up and down like that. You can sort of see the issue here. This HLT is kind of unsure of where to fire. There's not a great target right here, but it's still unsure. As this HLT comes up, though, the idea is you also deconstruct these ones to pay for the forward ones. So you basically want to always have 2 HLTs up and running, and then the third one you pay for about halfway through. You pay for it by deconstructing the first one. Sort of the flow of that. You also want to build more construction power here. We also have the metal extractor coming up. I like this play. I like this play a lot. It's a really, really impressive way to play this front line, because obviously those HLTs are uncontestable as a bot commander. You need to get into vehicles. Otherwise, you're never going to have the range to really solve any of these issues. Ugh, constructor just taking ages to come up in the backline. We do have one available right here. This should have been building mexes and going backwards for a while. We just didn't have it. Now the constructor is out. Hopefully we see that building mexes right now, but this is a losing front right now for the green commander. Those HLTs have been great, and the rocket bots are firing away here as well. Only a matter of time. Big old missile war coming down here as well. Looks like we'll have a nice opportunity to shift into cinema mode as we watch a whole bunch of thugs, aggravators, grunts, missile trucks, and the likes all pushing forward. We do have a HLT here being resurrected. How's that coming along? 51%, not bad. Don't think it'll have time, though. Commander is walking around trying to be the distraction, but the res bots do go down. And just like that, this entire front line has now been jumped upon by a whole plethora of units. Now, this is where that handing over units comes into play. Typically, this would be best off by just handing units over to the commanders on the front line, letting them micro them. The red team has not gone for that. Instead, they've gone for volume. And it's worked out tremendously. Meanwhile, blue commander with a big old run by. Whole bunch of pincer tanks pop out of the water and start wreaking havoc. What a beautiful play right there. Pincer tanks nicely spread out right there as well, which is always cool. It means they're going to be able to affect basically the entire backline. Yeah, not bad. Build power, our primary target right here. This pincer moving forward a little bit too eagerly. These ones going to be able to do tons and tons of damage. Oh, okay, well, you do have to avoid blowing yourself up on E-converters. Those are very dangerous. Quite self-sacrificial targets, but they do the job. What was that? Oh. Little halberd sumo tank going up against the purple commander here. The pink and purple commander and the sumo. Halberd, I mean. Making great work of that. Pincer tanks still tearing apart the yellow base. So that's nice. I mean, that shuts down production, but the yellow commander is not having a rough time. Capturing all this highland area over here, putting out tons and tons of metal. That's, I believe, 6 metal per second, 6 or so metal per second coming out of all these metal extractors. With the HLT on the high ground to blast down these units as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah, what a wonderful positioning right here for this HLT. Firing down to the low ground here. It doesn't look like it has the vision right now. We need a radar tower right next to it, or maybe some of those spy cameras. But still not a bad situation. Alright, well, those tanks did manage to kill a ton of metal extractors, ruining the backline at least for a little while. The orange and red forces were pulled backwards to try and deal with that, so it relieved a bunch of pressure from the front line. Will we take advantage of that relief, or will we continue to build up forces without reclaiming all the dead ones on the front here, and slowly but surely lose the war? We have a we have a gauntlet on the high ground here being built. A hilarious position, because of course this can fire away for just miles and miles and miles. It can deny both of these metal extractors. It can fire at all these units. Whoa, smoked too much. The green commander, ironically enough, going to be degunning down a whole bunch of those rocketeers from the brown commander. Not bad. To be so careful with those rocketeers. They're so subject to, well, degunning of course, but also just kind of anything. They're not the fastest unit in the book. Transport carrying a build tower. You know what? I don't even hate it. Yeah, sure. There we go. Construction turret is up and running. Are we going to go for static defenses, or are we just going to go for straight up reclaim? Looks like it's going to be static. See, with the construction turret queued to try and help us out. This halberd tank is rolling its way up the hill here. Very slowly, I will say. Man, those things are good. So good. Is the lone beamer turret enough to shut this down? I'm not so sure. It does have the repair. Halberd just can't fire at it. Oh, wow. Alright, well, this is maybe the best trade the beamer turret has ever taken. Okay. Just like that, the halberd is pushed back. The beamer turret will be enough. Now the rocket bots, or the rocket hovers, rather, have made their way in. Going to now be firing away up and over the hillside to try and take down these static defenses, but I think this buys enough time, yeah. Construction turret gonna start eating up these corpses, extracting that metal, and hopefully we see some sort of investment here. Nope. No investment so far. Gonna bank it instead of putting it into, I don't know, A-Solars or a T2 laboratory or anything like that. Not the end of the world, of course, but definitely not the best situation either. Reclaiming this lab is probably not a bad idea as well. Well, look at that, yeah. Just using the construction turret to safely extract all of the materials from this. Not even sure what these rockets are firing at, but they sure are firing. LLT wall here. We have some twin guards, which can fire at 2 units at once, sort of their specialty, anti-swarm technology. But they also, the top tower, can outrange those rocket bots, which means you can sort of force them back using those very, very powerful medium laser turrets. You can see this push is sort of stalled out here as well. So the idea, again, is that you build a constructor tower here, and then you continue pushing forward with the HLTs, and then you deconstruct the ones in the back. You use that overlapping build power to deconstruct the ones in the back, and you move them to the front. It's how you tower crawl in Beyond All Reason, and it is extremely effective if you're going up specifically against T1 bots. That's kind of the generally most useful use case. T2 laboratory up and running right here for the orange commander. Does get a T2 con, started almost immediately, and has retaken this southern low ground. We have a T2 lab up and running here for the blue commander as well, and it is a T2 vehicle lab, which is always nice. There's not really too many amphibious vehicles, though. I mean, there's the turtle. There's the turtle. Rocket hovers continuing to disassemble all of this, of course, but at the end of the day, this was destined to fall. Really, the major victory here was, of course, extracting all of that resource from that laboratory right here. Not sure that we managed to do very much with it. We are going into T2 airplanes. Don't have anywhere near the energy production for T2 airplanes. You need consistent thousands of energy worth of, energy in order to build those T2 airplanes. It smells like a commander died somewhere around here. What was that? Oh, there he is. Green commander goes down. Apparently the HLT on the high ground as well as the commander on the medium ground doing a great job of blasting on that commander, and there we go. The green comm does fall. How's this battle in the backline going? We have to kind of adjust our camera to even take a look at it. Man, HLT's pretty good, huh? I won't sit here and say they're the best in the entire game, but they are certainly quite powerful in the exact right situation. And Mohal RQ is just not interested in making the transition in order to turn these ineffective. Going into vehicles here, 2 shell shockers to fire away at them. I mean, 5 if you really want to get things done, but 2 if you're just kind of passively fighting them. Yeah, it looks like the Green Commander is just going to full retreat. That agitator is in a great position, by the way. Look at this corner position. So it can fire down to the low ground if it needs to, but it's also able to see forward over here as well, which is just really cool. I love good positioning on static defenses. It's too often that we see static defenses blocking each other like that. I think this is a wonderful use case for these here. Definitely a wide enough angle coming out of that cannon. Ooh, that was not the straightest of lines ever drawn. Let's see, try a little better. There we go. That's not bad. You can see the angle is not perfect, but even with the angle slightly imperfect, yeah, it can tilt its head upwards and fire a high arcing shot to try and connect with some of these other things. And ultimately push the Green forces back. No amount of bots is really going to save you here. This is one of those moments where you have to eat up your entire T1 army and hope that T2 transitioning is worth it. How has the Blue Commander prepared for this event? Well, this Pitbull is poorly positioned right here. If it was a little further forward, it would have been able to fire at these the entire time they were climbing up this hillside. Instead, it's just barely going to pop up now and be able to start firing, and even then, whiffing. Oof. Not ideal. Beamer turret would be wonderful. These are just T1 Seeker. They're not particularly durable, but it wasn't quite finished yet. So the wind turbines, E-converters, T2 economy, and all the rest of it are in tons and tons of trouble. Now the Seeker are in the backline, lasering down the blue economy. Yeah, we'll have a whole bunch of anti-air vehicles. These are positioned to try and shut down any of the airplay here from the from the Purple Commander. Again, without the energy production to sustain this is sort of a difficult to justify expanse here. These anti-air hovercraft are doing tons of damage, though. Like, consider that these are 1,000 metal worth of T1 anti-air hovercraft. This is nearly 3,000 metal worth of T1 fighters. So they only really have to kill about half of these fighters to have gained their value, and it looks like they're going to kill basically all of them. I mean, this is bizarre to see these just behind enemy lines. the hero anti-air towers that could, or anti-air hovercraft that could, the sweepers. Very, very strange, but not entirely ineffective. Yeah. Halberd in the backline. Halberd have been compared, as you may have guessed by my constant misnaming them, to sumos. They're effectively the same superpower of the sumo of being extremely durable and high damage, with the trade-off being that they're relatively low range and they don't move very quickly. Also a little bit more expensive than a sumo. I believe a sumo is 400 metal, maybe 300 metal. A sumo is 560 metal. Hey, Albert is 640. So they are a little bit expensive. I was just completely misunderstood in my understandings of the costs there for Cortex. Can you tell I don't play much Cortex? Or haven't recently, anyways. Core has kind of lost interest for me, I won't lie. It's kind of, you know, Armada has all the fun, weird, specific tools. Cortex doesn't have all that much of that. Roughneck gunships coming out here, and man, the laser turrets are cutting them apart. I don't know if that was the best use case of those gunships here. First of all, avoiding the static defense would have been key, but second of all, prioritizing different targets here. E-converters, wind turbines, build power, all that sort of stuff. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Roughneck's pretty good, but not good enough to justify throwing away. These poor rocket guys have just been sitting here. So lonely. A gigantic advantage here for the red team. Their front line has turned into a wasteland as the Cyan Commander has gone down, and now the red Sheldon are pushing forward here. Arbiter firing away at the laboratory as well with extremely long range. It's able to reach out and hit those critical structures well before your actual main army can. Makes for a very, very powerful, very compelling argument against, well, against losing. Against giving up ground, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Obviously not trying to lose, but yeah, every inch you yield is another step forward that an Arbiter can take to fire away a long-range high-arc missile and land it directly on top of your laboratory. And that's very, very dangerous, very difficult to deal with. These T2 vehicles have been rolling out of the lab very slowly here. Yeah, we're going for fusion reactors and tanks and all sorts of stuff all over the place here. A little bit unfocused. One of those things that comes with a lot of experience is learning how to shift your metal into different areas really, really efficiently. And I'm not claiming to be a professional at this either. I metal and energy stall all the time trying to shift between different laboratories, eco structures, all sorts of stuff like that. But it is one of those things that's fun about watching the pros, is 1 second they'll be playing vehicles, the next they're making bots to resurrect or reclaim everything, and then a second later they're making bombers or fighters out of an air lab, and then they've transitioned all the way back to vehicles after all that, so they can manage to do all that in just a span of time that is frankly ridiculous. Keeping the commander alive is so nice here, though, because you can see, I mean, obviously the commander, it's only 300 build power, but it is enough to repair on the front lines here. You can get some of these units back up and running, up to a healthier status anyways, and you can always use it for reclaim as well, which, when you're going up T2 versus T1, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity to reclaim a whole bunch of really, really easy-to-gather metal. Those Rocketeers, Aggravators, rather, surprisingly finding value, taking down an Arbiter right there. But the entire map belongs to the red team, including this northern section here, which we'll take another look at. As you can see, Ryko Demas is trying to push forward here. Now, I'll give you a helpful tip. Oh, look at that. A perfect example. Ryko Demas well aware that these things actually have a really low build cost. So you can reclaim these super, super easily here. As you can see, this commander eating these up. And not only is it super easy to get rid of them that way, but also you get a little bit of a metal bonus from it. Yeah, it's like 8 metal per wall or something. So you get a little stimulus for a little bit of stimulus for eating up those walls right here. Green Commander decides to self-destruct. Not sure. Didn't manage to catch into his army, so maybe just trying to yield. Throwing in the towel here. Typically, you would just hit the resign button unless there's a strategic reason to self-destruct your commander. In this case, though, only feeding back 1,000 more metal here to the Hot Pink Commander. With no eco expansion. We are building a con. I would love to see, yeah, some fusion reactors. Bit of an awkward spot to have to build here, you can see. Very, very difficult to squeeze these buildings in, but it looks like the Hot Pink Commander has managed to figure it out quite nicely. Meanwhile, the red front line is looking dangerous. Those Sheldon, those Manticore also mixed into the composition here. We know about the air player. We haven't seen Shuriken because, well, they're Armada. But those Manticore meant to ensure that no EMP bombers, for instance, managed to make any big connections. Well, that's... We definitely don't want to land our gunships on them. Oh, but it looks like it doesn't matter. Despite the EMP bomber, the blue team does throw in the towel, and the red team, with overwhelming aggression, a wonderful push in the midsection, and overall just more map control, manages to hold on and push forward. What a funky game of Beyond Our Reason. Thanks a ton for watching. If you made it all the way to the end here, feel free to join the Brightworks by subscribing down below, and you can always join the Discord, which is linked down below there as well. And I hope to see you in the very next match. Peace out, Commanders.